Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm John. I'm here for the Derby della Madonnina preview. It is Inter against AC Milan in round 8 of the 2017-2018 Serie A season. The big match tomorrow, October 15th at 8:45 p.m. Italian time at the San Siro. It is definitely a match that many are looking forward to, and not only the Inter or the Milan fans, but also neutrals around the world. It's one of those matches that has such a great importance for the city, for the colors of these two teams, and of course for the history. But of course Milan has a big task on their hands, because more than just this match, there are a few things at stake, and we will be speaking about this today. Of course, I'm speaking about Montella's future, also the direction of the club. People might be starting to question where this club is actually going and what projections they might have for the season. So definitely a match that, you know, Milan will want to come out victorious, to try and put these thoughts aside and let the fans wonder about the glory of this match, possibly if they get the 3 points. But let's start speaking about Inter. Of course, Inter, they have been playing very well this season so far. I watched a couple of their matches, and they have been pretty controlling, I have to say, even though against the lower opposition teams. Even though they came out with the results, they got the 3 points, they haven't always, you know, fully come out to play to their full potential, is what I'm trying to say here. For example, we saw in their last match they beat Benevento 2-1, and I think Benevento actually played a pretty decent game themselves. So they've had trouble with these lower opposition teams, lower table, but they've still been able to beat a few of these teams in the higher side, of course. So we definitely have to wait and see what sort of match Milan could expect here. And they also beat Roma, of course, 3-1 back in August. So definitely a positive start to the season for Inter. They've also only conceded 3 goals. That is a very positive sign to watch there for Inter. So their defense has been pretty stable, not shaky as it has been for Milan, which have already conceded 10 goals in 7 games. That is just horrendous, if you ask me. And things definitely need to be better for Milan. You know, this season, it's been a roller coaster ride once again, like we have seen in previous years so far. 4 wins and 3 losses. Simply not good enough for a team that wants to make it to the Champions League for next season. You know, the ambition, the goal, the end product for Milan is to finish in the top 4. And at this rate, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be possible for Milan, because, of course, a lot of their competitors are competing at full throttle, and they're really going hard. We could see Napoli, 7 wins in 7 games. Like I said before, Inter still undefeated, Juventus still undefeated, and it's definitely difficult for Milan to reach the higher stages of the table if they don't change the situation as soon as possible. Of course, we are still very early in the season. We are still really at the beginning, so anything could still occur. But picking up 3 losses in your first 7 matches is not a very pretty sight, and it's something that must change in order for us to reach our goal. Like I said before, lots of pressure has also been put on Vincenzo Montella in these past few weeks, and many people are questioning his tactics, his approach to games, and what he could really bring to the table for the future of Milan. There were rumors concerning a possible return to the club from Ancelotti, like I did speak a few weeks ago about, but obviously those rumors were turned aside, as Ancelotti mentioned that he will not be coaching this season at all. He's going to take a year off, pretty much. Therefore, you know, it's back to square one. We will be staying with Montella until the end of the season, most likely, also because Mirabelli and Fassone have stressed that they're fully backing up this project, they're fully backing up Montella, but Montella needs to be a bit more selfish. needs to be a bit less selfish, my apologies, and definitely less stubborn, because every time it seems like he wants to make some coaching decisions, or incorporating certain players into the pitch, he always seems to do it late, out of place, or simply he has no idea of what he wants going forward. He's definitely changing a lot of things, and I understand that you need to experiment things, but this is not the time to do it, especially like we saw last time around against Roma. Making substitutions after the damage was already done, simply not the way to go. And same thing goes for that match against Sampdoria a few weeks ago as well. So things need to change, that's for sure. But what is important here is that we do get a win, the 3 points, no matter how they come. I think it's going to set a message to Inter as well, that we are here to compete for those 4 top places in order to make it to the Champions League. And the loss here will be a major, major disaster for Milan, in my opinion, because that will mean that we will already be 10 points behind Inter, which is not impossible to come back from, but definitely you don't want to go minus 10 from Inter already this early into the season. So, like I said, most important thing here is not really the performance of how we are going to play, but that we do come out with the 3 points. And like I said, the Derby della Madonnina, anything could happen. In the last few occurrences against Inter, actually, in the Derby della Madonnina, we have seen it all. We saw Zapata last year tie it at the death. And I think the match before that, Inter also tied it at the death. So anything could happen. What we have to do is be fully concentrated, and definitely, we have a lot of potential. Believe in that potential. Use that potential. And hopefully that will be enough to get us the 3 points. Now let's take a look at the probable starting 11 for Milan going into tomorrow's match. So we're going to see Donnarumma in net. Once again, this is going to be a 3-5-2 formation. A bit of a variation here with Suso. Of course, he's not going to be playing right beside Andre Silva, but he's going to be playing behind him, like we have seen with Kalinic, obviously, in the previous games. Anyways, the formation goes as follows. The back 3 composed of Romagnoli, Bonucci, and Musacchio. The midfield with Ricardo Rodriguez, Bonaventura, Biglia, Kessi, and Borini. Like I said, Suso playing right behind there, Andre Silva. That should complete the formation and the lineup. Speaking about this lineup, first of all, I would like to speak about the defense. Bonucci and Romagnoli, they need to get better. They need to be better, especially Bonucci being captain of this team. He hasn't really shown a lot so far this season. He has been pretty shaky. Lots of criticism towards him as well so far this season. He could do better, and he needs to do better in order to help this defense keep clean sheets and help his team get wins at the end of the day. If Bonucci doesn't play well, then how's the rest of the defense going to play well? He should be the glue to that defense, and really he hasn't been doing that job so far this season. For the midfield, we're seeing Borini there starting on the right instead of Abate. I think this is a very good approach from Montella, because Borini has shown some very good signs every time that he has played this season. Maybe he's not the most technically gifted player, but he's definitely a hard worker, and I think we have seen it over and over again so far this season. Always providing options for the forwards as well as the defense. I think he could contribute to both sides, and I think that's a perfect role for Borini. I would probably start him in this match as well instead of Abate. So we're going to see exactly what goes on tomorrow with him. Kessi needs to improve as well. He's another player that I've been slightly disappointed with. Ricardo Rodriguez on the other side, he has been doing some good deliveries. He's been scoring a couple of goals here and there. But overall, the midfield in general needs to be more concrete. It's been a bit too static in the past few weeks, especially against Roma and Sampdoria. More movement is required, especially from that midfield, if we want to get wins here. So hopefully we'll be seeing a bit more of that tomorrow. As for Suso, a lot of people have been also suggesting that Suso is not playing in a very good role for himself. This, of course, is Montella's choice, and like, I've been backing up the decision of playing Suso in this position. Obviously, he has a bit more room to move around. So this could be, an advantage to Suso, but it also depends on how fast he could adapt to this role. And this is not something that Suso is very familiar with. Of course, we also usually see him playing on the wing. So, Suso's going to have to adapt to this. And hopefully tomorrow we'll see good signs of him supporting Andre Silva up front. And Andre Silva finally getting the start that I believe he deserves. He's been scoring lots of goals so far from the beginning of the season, not only with Milan, but also with the Portuguese national team. I think he's been scoring like every game. Every time there's a Portugal game, I always see him score. So there's no reason as to why Andre Silva should not be starting in this game. Maybe we'll be seeing Kalinic later on, but I believe that Andre Silva should be getting the nod in this match. And hopefully he will prove some very good things to us and maybe score some goals. So let me know your thoughts about the formation, the match. What do you think about the scoreline maybe? Do you think that the players that you just saw are okay with that formation or in their specific role? Let me know whatever you guys want to talk about regarding the match in the comment section, and I'll be reading your thoughts and comments for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Also, before I do get into that, I would just like to apologize a bit for not being able to provide consistent content to you guys on Rossoneri TV. Of course, yes, there was the international break in between these two games between Roma and Inter. But simply, like I mentioned several times, lack of time, schedule conflicts don't really allow me to always post as frequently anymore. But as always, me and Adamo will try our best to provide videos to you guys, especially for the matches. So let's get into the comments now. Let's see what you guys have to say. By the way, some very surprising news here as I'm looking that Lazio is beating Juventus at the Juventus Stadium. What a result that would be for them. But anyways, let's move on to our match and let's see what you guys have to say. But there says, I hate this formation. Suso doesn't belong in that position and their defense doesn't have enough chemistry yet to lead a three-man defense. I think a 4-2-3-1 would be a very good formation instead. I do agree with you. I think that the defense still lacks that experience, and like you said, it lacks that chemistry to bond together. But I still think that it originates from how Bonucci plays. Bonucci, like I said before, the captain of this team, probably the most experienced as well in that defense, needs to step up his game and lead by example for the rest of his teammates. And I'm not only speaking about the defenders, but also the rest of the team. If your captain is not playing right, if he's not being 100%, then how's the rest of the team gonna react? Bonucci needs to step up, and I think the defense will also have it will have a positive impact on the defense if he does step up his game. And I think, by doing this, they will build a better chemistry and also be more confident with each other. So it all really depends, I think, not only from Bonucci, of course, the team in general, but Bonucci is that captain. He needs to set the tone. He needs to step up his game. As far as the formation goes, the 4-2-3-1, it's a very good formation. I do agree with the two defensive midfielders. I think they could help the defense as well, and you still have some quite some attacking options, which I'm not denying. But personally, I think the 4-3-3 was a good formation, especially with the use of Bonaventura and Suso as wingers. But of course, Montella wants to try different things out. The 4-3-3 was becoming a bit more predictable as teams were getting used to our playing style. So, Montella is suggesting this 3-5-2. I'm not saying it's the best formation out there. I'm not saying that it's a formation that works. But, if he wants to stick to one formation, if he wants to promote his style of play with that formation, he needs to at least make sure that the players are playing in the right roles where he puts them and not just put anyone anywhere. And oftentimes we have seen a bit of a chaos with these formations and the lineups, players playing out of position, substitutions being made later than they were supposed to be done. So, things need to change, that's for sure, and it all starts from Montella as well. Feast says our biggest issue this season is players playing out of position. I just said that. Montella can't seem to work that out. There's also the ethic of deciding to play Silva or Kalinic, as both deserve to start. I fully agree with you, especially with your last comment there regarding Silva and Kalinic. It's a tough choice, that's for sure. There's also an option called Coutone on the bench, and the guy has been scoring as well with the Italian youth teams. He's been doing a very good job as well this season, scoring in the Europa League. So there's definitely a bit of a headache, like you mentioned there, deciding who to play up front, Silva or Kalinic. It's not like Silva really got a chance so far in the Serie A, but he has been proving himself in the Europa League. So maybe now he's ready to hit his opponents with some goals in the Serie A as well. And I think his journey will potentially start tomorrow against Inter. Some predictions coming in. Liban says a 3-2 Milan win. Silva with a brace, Suso at the death, and for Inter, Icardi and Cancelo are going to score. Aniket says, Gio, I'm really missing a bit of pace in the team. Conti would have been great. How unfortunate it is that he's injured. Borini hopefully can be a bit better in crossing. Pringdale failed back in the winter. Yeah. I agree with you. Unfortunately, Conti's injury is a big blow to Milan, especially coming in so early in the season, because he was one of the players that was gonna play a major role in this team this season, but unfortunately it won't be the case. Borini, I think this is a big opportunity for him to prove to Montella that he deserves to start in this formation, and like I said, just like Andre Silva, it all starts tomorrow for him. Saif says, I think this is the first time that I'm not that excited for this derby. I really can't see us getting much out of this match. And to have a great coach with committed players and no cowards. Well, look, I'm definitely excited for this match. I believe that, like I mentioned before, Derby della Madonnina, anything could happen. There's no clear favorites. There are no favorites. There are no underdogs in these types of matches. It just really depends on who of the two teams is the hungriest. So Milan, unfortunately, I agree with you, they haven't shown much desire in the past games. Against Sampdoria, against Roma, these were two games that really they threw out of the window themselves. I don't think Sampdoria and Roma played particularly better than us in these two games, and I'm not saying this with biasness. I just believe that Milan gave the match to them in both locations. I don't think Milan was inferior to Roma and Sampdoria in those two games. Yes, there were some questionable decisions made by the coach, but technically speaking, Milan could have done better. They should have done better, given with the players that they have, especially against Sampdoria. I'm not taking anything away from Roma, but especially Sampdoria. This is a game that we literally gifted to them. Seeing the week after, Sampdoria lost 4-0 to Udinese, if I'm not mistaken. So that just speaks volume of how we should have beaten, Sampdoria. There was no excuse whatsoever. So definitely a bit lack of desire. There's some players that I don't know if they're just taking it too easy. They're tired. Maybe Montella's not motivating them enough. One of these things is happening and it needs to change right away. Jamie says he predicts 2-1 for Milan. RK Gosh says, your words on Montella, keep starting Borini in the right wing back position, Suso on the secondary striker position. Don't you think Montella is clueless and should be sacked? Look, I get this question a lot, and I said it several times again. It is still very early in the season. I'm not fully confident in Montella. I'm going to say that right away. He's not the man that I could tell you he's the man that is going to coach our team for many years to come. If I had Conte coaching my team, I would tell you right away, even though he would have lost 4 games this season, I would have told you right away, I'm continuing Conte. I have full faith in him. I know exactly what he's going to be doing with this team. I know that he's going to bring them back to glory. And I'm sure of it. I'm just sure of it because Conte is a great coach. I cannot say the same about Montella. You know, even though I back him up at times, and I say to people, you know, give him some time. It's still very early in the season. Things might change. He's trying things out. I still don't have full faith in him. That is my argument for Montella, really. Because even though, I don't know, even though we do qualify for the Champions League or whatever the case is, do I really see Montella being the coach for the next 5 years and leading this team to more silverware or silverware in general? No. I'm going to give you a straight, simple no, because I don't believe that. I really don't. I just don't see it in him to be a coach of quality, a coach that, you know, could change teams around, could make them better. I don't see that. He's a coach that, you know, he hasn't been doing a bad job, but we need more than that. We need a guy that gives us the magical word, guarantees. We need someone that gives us guarantees. And Montella, unfortunately, for me at least, is not that man. That's my take on Montella. Aniket says Bonucci will score tomorrow and do the rinse celebration to cleanse out all this criticism. Expect great atmosphere. That's the second highest match day income ever in the world for this match. Thank you for those statistics there, Aniket. Milan Ultra says Montella never learns from his mistakes. He keeps making mistakes. That's also very true, as we have seen plenty of times already. Edwin says any time for side notes. Can you please clarify what's going on with our sponsorship? Adidas out, Puma in. I've read a few things regarding this sponsorship for the shirts, and it seems that Milan is finally breaking with Adidas, and they will not be staying with them. They will not be their kit sponsor anymore starting from next season. I've also heard about Puma possibly being the next sponsor for Milan. How I feel about this, I think Adidas always makes great kits. Puma, I mean, they're making the Italian national team kits. So, you know, it's not something that really bothers me. These are things that, you know, should be on the side. It's not my primary concern. But what you are saying here and what you are visualizing regarding the sponsorship with Adidas and Puma is definitely true. And I think it will be happening. Will I like to see Guardiola manage Milan in the future? Yes and no. I don't really have a preference for that, to be honest. Some more comments before I sign off. Safe says, what do you think of this? Donnarumma, Calabria, Bonucci, Musacchio, and Rodriguez. Biglia, Cassi, Bonaventura, Suso, Kalinic, and Silva. So you're playing, okay, Suso right behind Kalinic and Silva. A midfield of 3 composed of Biglia, Cassi, and Bonaventura, which, yes, definitely could be very good. Calabria, Bonucci, Musacchio, Rodriguez. Yeah, it's definitely not a bad formation if you ask me. It's a pretty solid formation. Playing with 2 strikers, I think it could work good. Midfield is strong as well. Cassi and Bonaventura could help the strikers moving forward and also give support to Suso. It's a pretty good formation if you ask me. It's almost like a 4-3-3, but it's a 4-3-1-2. And at the same time, those midfielders could help out the team as well. Gio, is Calabria fit? Calabria should be starting from the bench tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So, he should be fit to play. If, of course, Montella decides to put him on in maybe the second half. I think that's going to be it, guys, for the match preview. So thank you all for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Rossoneri TV to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan. I'll catch you guys later for another video. This has been Gio signing off from Rossoneri TV. And as always, Forza Milan.